everyone. This is The Jeff Cowan coming to you from thejeffcowan.com. Welcome back to my podcast called Success in Professional Sales and Life in General. And I say welcome back because, boy, we got a lot of you that are not only watching, but you're coming back and watching every week, and you're bringing your friends, and our audience is growing, and I just love it. If you're one of the new listeners and want to know how to find out more about me, it's real easy. You just go to thejeffcowan.com, thejeffcowan.com, and you'll find everything you need to know about us at that site. Now, over the last few weeks, as this audience continues to grow, I've been getting a lot of texts and emails and even some phone calls, people asking questions and whatnot, and I decided to base this week's podcast on one of the questions. There's a young lady by the name of Jackie who lives in Portland, Oregon, and she manages a sales staff. She said it's a fairly young sales staff, meaning that most of the people on there are brand new at sales. And she says, you know, they do a pretty good job. She said, especially when it comes to getting people interested in their product. They're great at presenting their products. They're great at asking for the money. She said, and many times the customer will agree to move forward, and their product is one that is just not one you can handle. It's one that you have to order. But she says she notices that she's losing a lot of sales from the time the customer says yes and they actually send in their deposit and the signed paperwork. And she said further in her email that she felt that was because they took their eye off the ball, the salesperson did, and didn't follow through on the final steps. And I tell you, Jackie, so her question was, you know, can I say something or do something to help her people out? Now, I tell you what, Jackie, I think it's a great question. I'm going to try to do that for you today because as luck would have it, I've got a new book coming out. It'll be out here in about 4 or 5 weeks, and as you can see the cover of it right there. It's called What I've Learned About Sales, Motivation, Leadership, Management, and Life in General from watching and attending over 35 Indianapolis 500s. Now, for those of you who know about me, you know that I was born and raised in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I'm a huge IndyCar fan. And I was working on a chapter last week that really plays right into that question. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the story with you and then share with you a life lesson I learned from it. And it comes right into what we're talking about right here, okay? Now, we're going to go back to the year 2011, and there was a race team called Panther Racing, and Panther Racing had been around for a long, long time. They're no longer in existence because the principals of the team decided to sell it and retire, but they were around for a long time, and they had a lot of success. They were one of the smaller teams in IndyCar. They had a smaller budget, but I'll tell you what, man, they knew how to make cars go fast, and they had a knack for hiring some of the best IndyCar drivers that ever drove an IndyCar. Leading up to 2011, they'd won 2 IndyCar championships and a ton of races. And in 2011, they decided to go a different direction with drivers with a new driver. Now, knowing that in 2008, 2009, and 2010, that car had finished second, 3 years in a row, second at the Indianapolis 500. This was one of the most sought-after rides in the entire series, and everybody was shocked, to put it nicely, that Panther Racing decided to give their car to a young rookie by the name of J.R. Hildebrand. Now, Hildebrand had a lot of success in the series that lead up to Indy. I mean, he'd won races and championships and stuff, but he'd never driven an Indy car, and everybody was kind of perplexed that they'd give him the car. But, you know, before the Indy 500 that year, there were 4 races, and in each race, even though he'd never driven an Indy car, he steadily got better until he got to the 4th race, the one right before Indy, where he finished 10th. Now, when he got to Indianapolis, everybody thought, you know what, he's showing some improvement, but Indy's going to be a long month and a long day for this young man because it usually is for rookies. But you know what? He went to the track, he listened to the veteran drivers, he listened to his team, he paid attention, and his speed steadily increased throughout the month, and he even qualified for the race out of 33 starting spots, 12th. So everybody felt like we've got a contender here for Rookie of the Year, but still, everybody thought, including me, man, race day is going to be a long day for this young kid because, again, it usually is for rookies. But it wasn't but a couple of laps in to the start of the 2011 race when he quieted everybody because he showed that he was gutsy, he wasn't afraid, and he was willing to take chances. And for the first half of the race, he kept that car on the lead lap, something, you just don't see rookies do. And as a matter of fact, he did something else you don't see rookies do. He led the race at the halfway point for a few laps. He not only showed that he was capable of driving the car, but he also showed that he was great at conserving fuel because with just 4 laps to go, because of his driving style, his ability to stay on the lead lap, and his ability to save and conserve fuel, His last pit stop was 3 seconds shorter than everybody else's. So when he came back out on the track with 4 laps to go in the lead, the closest car behind him was like 15 or 16 seconds back. Now, the crowd at Indianapolis, it's the single biggest day sporting event in the world, 350,000 people strong. I mean, they just jumped to their feet because they know they're getting ready to see something really special, because it had been years since a true rookie had won the race. And this kid, I mean, he just had perfect lines going around the track. He had an open track in front of him at the time. So everybody really thought this was going to be his day, right? And so he comes off the 4th turn on the last lap, and they give him on the second to last lap, and they give him the white flag signifying this is the final lap of the race. Well, his team went nuts. The crowd went nuts. The team started celebrating, started yelling and screaming and patting themselves on the back and high-fiving, because it looked like this was their year, because the next closest car was 15 seconds back, if not more. But they also, in their jubilation, forgot that their young rookie driver who'd never run an Indianapolis 500 or a 500-mile race at all was on the last lap of the Indy 500. They took their eye off the ball, and they forgot to warn JR as he approached turn 4 that there was a slower car on the track in front of him. So when he goes into turn number 4, he sees the car, he goes high, he hits the wall, and he doesn't win the Indy 500. As a matter of fact, he finished 2nd place, so they did it 4 times in a row, 2nd place, and he lost the race by 100 yards. Okay? He lost the race by 100 yards. Now, that's not very many yards, you know what I mean? So, the lesson learned here is that you can't assume victory until the job is complete and you have the checkered flag in your hand. The last lap in any race is always the most important lap, because all the laps that lead up to that are just there to thin out the competition, and wear down the competition. Now, I've also got a life story here that I want to share with you in just a minute, but before I do, I want to talk to you about this book. Now, if you're listening to this because you're already in professional sales, you've been in it for a while, and you love your product and service, then keep selling what you're selling. I mean, have fun with it, you know. I wouldn't want you to move, or I wouldn't want you to change. But if you're in a career and you say, you know what, I'd like to try something different, I maybe need to make more money or whatever it is, this book right here, that's sitting right here, Right Service and Write Your Own Paycheck, may be the book for you. Now, you can get this book at Amazon.com in hard copy, paperback, or for your Kindle. It also has a 10-hour video program. If you want to invest in that, you'd have to go to thejeffcowan.com, where you can also find the book. And this book is going to show you how to make $100,000 a year if you want to do this job. Now, if you're just listening to this because you're considering getting into sales and you don't know what product or service you want to represent yet, this book would be a good book for you, because it talks about a career where right now there is literally 30,000 openings for the sales position, and it's a lot of fun. As a matter of fact, the average person makes $65,000 a year selling this service. So again, this is called Right Service, Write Your Own Paycheck. You can go to thejeffcowan.com and get it. You can get it at Amazon.com. And again, we have a 10-hour video where I test you and do all kinds of stuff. It's a great thing. So I just wanted you to know about that. Get that book. Now, let's go back to the podcast, because earlier I was telling you how a young rookie driver gets one of the hottest race cars in IndyCar in 2011 and takes it to the track and shows that he deserved the ride, because he not only stayed on the lead lap the entire race, but actually led it halfway, and with 4 laps to go, put himself out in front of the field by over 15 seconds. But because he started celebrating too soon and his team started celebrating too soon on the last lap, everybody took their eye off the ball. He hits the 4th turn wall, last turn on the whole race, right? So he goes 499 3/8 of a mile, right? He cracks the wall, loses the Indy 500 by 100 yards. All right, and so he didn't follow through. He didn't have the checkered flag in hand. Well, you know, let's switch this to business, because here's a personal story. You know, many times I've seen business deals and sales lost because somebody took their eye off the ball. And as a matter of fact, this happened to us later, and they took their eye off the ball, even though it seemed like the deal was closed during the final step. Now, this recently happened to us, and that's this. We have a newer salesperson, and she's working with a customer, and the customer calls in, and reaches out to the customer. Customer is instantly interested. She sets up a time to make a presentation. She makes a presentation because we sell sales training here. But most of our sales is done over the phone, and she's doing what they call a go-to meeting or a WebEx type of meeting, right? The guy is just jubilant. I mean, he loves exactly what we're doing, how we're going to do it. He likes the total investment that's going to take. And at the end of the phone call, he says, "Send me the paperwork, send me the agreements. I think we're going to do this." And when she asked, "When do you want me to follow up?" he said, "You don't have to follow up, because if you don't have the paperwork back by the end of the day, you'll have it tomorrow morning." Now, Everything seems great, but everybody starts getting excited. Everybody starts high-fiving. And after they emailed the paperwork to the customer, they forgot the final step that I would require everybody to do, which is call the customer. Don't email him again. You emailed him the paperwork. You emailed him all the stuff he needs to fill out. But after you do that, don't count on the internet. Don't count on email. Don't count on that technology. Pick up the phone, call him, and tell him, or at least leave him a message that simply says, I just sent the agreements. I just sent all the paperwork. All you have to do is send it via email. If you don't see in your email box in the next 15 or 20 minutes, call me or email me back, whatever you want to do, and I will get you the paperwork, but it has been sent. We didn't take that final step. So you know where this story's going, right? The next morning, that day, before we leave that day, it's not there. So he did say it might be there tomorrow morning. Then the next morning, we get an email that says, hey, never received the paperwork, now reconsidering. Our heart sunk. Our heart sunk. I mean, we worked so hard to get this, and just because we didn't take the final step, now we've got somebody that was excited who's reconsidering. Now, I got to say this because the young lady that was involved, she was so strong, she got him turned around, and we eventually got the deal, but we came that far. And if you're just listening to this, you're going to see that I have my fingers almost touching. We came that close to missing this deal. And in the past, I've missed deals like that. That's the reason, because I've depended on the internet, and they didn't get the paperwork. So that's the reason I instituted that rule. You got to call them after you email certain emails to make sure that they've got them, okay? Now, so this time it worked out for us. In the past it didn't. You've got to follow through. So what am I saying here? Well, here's some points to ponder to bring this home, because just like JR and Panther Racing, the salesperson in the story I just talked about hit the wall with just inches to go, right? And I take responsibility because I took my off the ball. I did not coach when I should have been coaching. We literally celebrated the sale too early and almost lost it. So not only was she at fault, I was more at fault because I'm the guy in charge and I'm the one that's watching this. So if you want to blame anybody, just like you really can't blame JR totally because his team, his managers took the eye off the ball, but they weren't able to follow through. So here's some points to ponder for Jackie's people. Look, Jackie has got a sales system there, and she's got certain steps that she needs you to follow, and you need to follow every one, even though you're able to get people on the phone, even though you're able to get them excited when you make a presentation, even though you're able to get people to say, yes, I want to move forward, and even though they request that you send the paperwork and all that stuff, you are not done until you follow her final steps, which is very similar to mine. Make sure you call and say they got it, and you do the rest of the work, because if you don't, you're going to miss sales. It's as simple as this. Here's some points to ponder. A deal is not a deal, or a sale is not a sale, until the paperwork has been signed and the money's been collected. Okay, so don't make the mistake that I did here last week. Okay, don't celebrate until you've got that signed paperwork and you've got that deposit in hand, because it's real simple. You cannot build a resume or a sales career off of sales that you almost closed. The steps in a sale are there for a reason, because somebody before you has walked down this path. Somebody before you has made these mistakes. Somebody before you has taken and eliminated all the mistakes. That's the reason those rules are there. So I know it's exciting to talk to people. I know it's exciting because I love selling. It's exciting to do presentations. It's exciting to ask for the money. It's exciting. I can't imagine too many things in life that are more exciting than when somebody says yes, but you know what? That yes doesn't mean anything until you get to experience that final excitement, which is you get the paperwork and the deposit. That's when you celebrate, not before. So Jackie's people, I know you're watching this, follow all the steps, because by doing so, you're going to sell substantially more product, you're going to make substantially more sales, and you're going to make a whole lot more money. Again, a deal is not a deal, or a sale is not a sale until the paperwork has been signed and the money's been collected. You cannot, repeating myself, build a resume or a sales career off of sales that you almost closed because you stopped before the end of the race. You hit the wall. Hey, my name is Jeff Cowan from The Jeff Cowan from thejeffcowan.com. Thank you for listening to this podcast this week. I'll be back next week with another one. Another message, subscribe to this podcast. If you've not already, tell your friends about it. Bring all your friends, play at your sales meetings, do whatever you want. But between now and next week, I want you to do me a great big favor, and that is I want you to make it a great week. I want you to make a lot of presentations. I want you to make a lot of sales and follow through all the way to the end. Stay off that wall, grab the checkered flag, and let's celebrate. All right? That's how you win the races. You guys have a great week. Take care.